Hi guys, so for today's video I will be showing you how to make guinea pig cage liners. This is my finished product. I'm showing you the finished product before I start the video, so you can see if this is something you want to watch or not. I made 200 by 100 centimeter liners and one 30 by 100 centimeter liner for my loft. I still have to make another one, but for the purpose of the video it was enough to make only one liner for the loft. So I use different combinations of fleece. On one I have a heart emoji combination, and on the other one I have a heart / green fleece combination, so I can choose whichever side I want to use at that moment, because I know that I like variation, so that's why I did it this way. You need several tools to make this liner, like some pins, you need good fabric scissors, you need a pen or something else to mark your measurements, you need a measuring tape, and some needles and thread. This is also optional, but it can come in handy. And of course you need a sewing machine. You can hand sew it, but it's a lot of work. So these are the fleeces that I bought in order to make these liners. As you can tell, they were not very expensive. They're a pretty decent price. I bought this duvet to act as an absorbent layer between the two pieces of fleece. The duvet is 200 by 200 centimeters, which means I could basically make 4 liners out of it, because the liner needs to be 100 by 100 centimeters, since the cage is 100 by 105 by 105, so the liner has to be slightly smaller. What I will do is I'll cut the duvet in half, and then cut it in half again, and then I should have exactly a quarter of it, which is 100 by 100 centimeters. So I will use basically half of the duvet for both liners, and the remaining part I will use for the liners for the loft. So first I'm going to measure 100 by 100 just in case, and I'm going to pin the line across which I have to cut with my scissors. Looking back at it, measuring everything and cutting all the materials actually took most time of everything you have to do for this project. But yeah, I'll speed things up now because this took me quite some time, and I'll come back to you to tell you about the next steps. After cutting the duvet, the filling comes out, so I really quickly hand sewed along the edges where I cut, to prevent all the filling from coming out, because of course you don't want it to fall apart. With the absorbent layer cut, I will move on to the fleece. For one liner I made 2 pieces of fleece of 105 by 105 centimeters. You need a little excess fleece at the edges of the liner because the seam takes up a few centimeters. So again, this is where I measure and cut the fleece, and this takes quite some time, so I'm going to speed it up again so you can see the process, and I'll come back to you with the next step. Once one side of the liner is done, it's easier to cut the other side because you have a template. What I did is I just laid my template on top of the other fabric that I wanted to use, this green fleece, and I pinned them together, and then I cut along the edges. And then after that was done, it was also easy to put it right on top of the filling. And I pinned those together, and that's when you can sew along the edges. Now that you've pinned all the layers on top of each other in the right order, which is one fleece on top of the other fleece and on top of that the absorbent layer, you can start to sew. Don't worry, if I can do this, you can do this, because I'm not an expert seamstress at all. My sewing machine is really old, but it works perfectly fine. What you have to do is sew along all the edges of the liner. But what is really important is that you have to leave a gap that is large enough to be able to pull the rest of the liner through it, so you can turn it inside out, and then you sew along the edge that is still open to create a perfectly closed finished product, and that's basically when it's done. So now for the most satisfying part of this video, turning it inside out. Finally, sew along the gap that you left open to be able to turn it inside out, and then your liner is done. Okay, so now your first liner is done, and you just have to repeat the same steps on your other liners. Here you can see the liner for the loft that I made. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, well, I guess especially me. Let's see how Lucky and Sunny like the liner.